Frederick, I wish you would tell me something about it. Do you think, would you?
About what?
When you went over there.
You mean, what my reactions
yes.
were and everything?
Yes.
Well, it was, of course, a very great, I won't say shock, it was a very great,
surprise?
Yes, but that was not quite the word I want to find. A revelation,
yes.
For some time I had been ill, and towards the last few days I was very conscious of the fact that I was dying, and I was very mixed in myself. I wanted to stay on the earth at the same time. Another part of me wanted to die, I had lost the will to some extent to live, but there was always my music, and that was the only thing that seemed somehow to matter to me, and I felt it was so awful, to have to leave everything so soon when I had so many plans, so much inside me still to do,
Yes.
And there was that half sort of fear of what it was going to be like, if there was anything to look forward to after death, I was so confused, I suppose that is the word, mentally confused as to life in the world to come. I was afraid, and yet, in a sense, I was hopeful, and at the same time I was resentful at my life being cut so short. It was also difficult,
Yes.
I couldn't sort of sort myself out at all, and I see, just before I pass, several people who come to me from spirit.
Yes.
And that give me great encouragement. They make me feel so different. The last few hours of my life, when people think that I'm not conscious, I was very conscious of things which they were not conscious of.
Yes.
The first thing I hear was music.
You heard that was it?
That was the thing, I think, that gave me more encouragement, gave me more hope, made me feel so different about everything, because I think it must have been an hour or two or so before I passed from the earth.
Yes.
I hear quite distinctly magnificent music, and it was just as if I was transported, it seemed to lift my soul or lift myself clean out of my body. And I remember just for a few seconds coming back to earth and being conscious of the room and everything, but then a few seconds later it was as if it was no more the earth, and I became fully conscious of being enveloped, is the only word I can use, not only with music, but it was as if I was transported by music and unseen hands. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And yet in my eye, not visually, but mentally, I suppose it must have been, although I suppose I thought it was visual, but in my inner self, or my mind's eye, I was conscious of all kinds of friends. But the only thing that really, strangely enough, seemed to be most strong was the music. It was the music that seemed to carry me from the earth to the spirit world.
I suppose it was a special band of musicians, probably, who came to meet you.
Well, of course, I know now what it was all about. At the time, it was confusing, but very wonderful. I realize now that it was many musicians, many, of course, whom I had never known, some I had known when on earth, but all who came to greet me, and knowing my tremendous love of music and how important it was and how it was indeed my very life, they knew the easiest way to help me and to make my passage from earth to the realm of spirit easy and happy was to bring music. And so there must have been a tremendous number of people who were musicians, who were playing the most divine music, which seemed to absolutely take from me all my worry, all my care, all my uncertainty, all my fear, and all my pain. Everything was taken from me as it were almost in the moment of a second. I seemed as if I then knew for the first time what it was going to be like to die. It was not going to be dreadful or horrible. I was not going to be cut off from music. It was going to be all that one could desire, that it was going to be more and more divine, inasmuch that it was going to be my heaven as I would have wished it if it had been possible for me to create it. It was going to be a musical transportation into a heavenly sphere where music was all. And so it was. My friends, unseen and yet conscious as I was of them, were there creating the most beautiful music. It transported me completely away from Earth. And I think the last few moments of my Earth, when I was a little conscious of earthly things, a fleeting moment or two, I think my friends on Earth were conscious of the
transfiguration.
The change that has taken place, you know. I don't know how to put these things into words.
And then you were transported to where, Frederick? Did you have a home there?
For a while I stayed in most beautiful surroundings, in most beautiful house.
Yes.
With friends, people who had deliberately set themselves out to help me and to encourage me, you know, and everything. And the first thing I remember was waking in a magnificent room, very lofty, a very beautiful room, with magnificent everything, you know, furniture, everything, magnificent windows, through which there seemed to be the most wonderful light coming, and yet it was not sunlight as you know it. It was just a light which, when I went to see from the source from whence it came, there was nothing visible except this magnificent halo of light and the magnificent view of parklands and everything, beautiful flies, beautifully kept gardens. But what, of course, was most important to me, there was my piano.
Yes.
And that was, to me, home. It does not matter. You know, in the old days when I used to go to a place, the first thing I look for when I go into a room, piano. No piano, this is no good. And I felt like saying, good afternoon.
That's exactly how I feel.
When I wake up in this place, this magnificent but beautiful place, there was this beautiful piano. But I saw, for the first time, I think, in my whole life, I did not go straight to the piano. I suppose it was because I was puzzled. I was a little uncertain as to where I was, and I was curious and everything, and I just walk around and I go to this window and I see this magnificent view, and somehow I suppose the realization came to me that I was at home, and yet I knew in myself I was not alive in the sense of earthly sense. I was not in a physical earthly existence anymore, but I felt content. I felt at home, but just a little surprised and unsettled, inasmuch that I did not seem to know quite what had happened. It was all rather vague, but I felt somehow it was all right. Anyway, I don't know. I just go, I play the piano, and somehow everything seemed right, completely so. And as I play the piano, the room became filled with people. But I was so concerned with my piano as to how it was, the tone and everything, and I did not even look to see who would make the piano. In fact, now I remember there was no maker's name on the piano, but all of a sudden it seemed as if the room was filled with people. And then I realized that I had many friends, but they were all friends that I had made through my music. It was my music that brought my friends to me. And then I was told afterwards that, this is a long story, so many things I have to miss out. But, you know, they tell me that I have so many friends who love my music and who, in some instances, were able to help me when on earth with my music, that as soon as I touched the piano, they knew that I was, awake from my sleep between passing from your world to this, and that music had awakened me fully to my new life, and they knew then it was the time to come to me, to see me, to make themselves, aware, make themselves
known to you.
Known to me, you see. So, I just go away, I play, and the people all come and sit in this magnificent salon, this magnificent room, and then all of a sudden I finish, and I find myself surrounded. My home is surrounded full of people who love me and my music. And I know then that I was at home. I was no longer a stranger in a strange house. I was no longer a stranger in a strange land. I was at home with friends who were musicians, who were fond of music. They were my friends. Some of them I had never met on earth, of course, but that did not matter. I realized then for the first time that it is music that makes friends.
Yes.
It is music that brings the souls of people together. It is music that knits, as it were, humanity in one accord. And when I think now, I look back and I know so well, I look into the earthly world and I know that there are thousands of people who never knew Chopin, and yet in a way they know Chopin through his music, and therefore I have many friends, thousands and thousands of friends in the realms of spirit, and thousands of friends still on earth. And so I am one with anyone who loves my music. They are my friends. They are everything to me, and I am everything to them. For music is beyond individuals, it is beyond characters, how you say, it is something that is common to all of us. It is something that links us together in complete harmony. For what is music but complete harmony, where vibration of such beauty and tremendous power surge and make all things one. So I find myself in the realm of spirit, something which I had never anticipated, something I had not even been conscious of, but I realized it was music that had made it possible. It was that which flowed from within myself, that I created for myself through all the links that were forged with thousands of people who love my music. And so I never lack friends, I never lack companionship. Here I have everything that the soul could wish, and always it is beautiful, it is, everything is perfect, it is all so complete, for nothing is lacking where music is the basic thing.
Yes.
Don't put these things well.
Yes, you're putting them beautifully, Frederick.